Hey, welcome. We are in chapter 5 this week. We're working with color. We're in our textbook exploring Adobe Photoshop CS6 with Creative Cloud enhancements. And I'm going to demo for you today the start of your exercise assignment, chapter 5L1. So we are going to activate Adobe Illustrator, or I'm sorry, Adobe Photoshop. And I was able to upload the files, the data files this week. They weren't quite as file intensive as they were last week, evidently. So we're going to go, so you can take a look in week 5 and you'll find those in there. We're going to open 5L1. So I'm going to get back out here and get into Photoshop. Looking for chapter 5 lessons, 5L1. And there we go. Now we are going to save this, do a file and save as. And we are going to name this, what are we going to name this? 5L1 underscore your name. And we're going to save it as a PSD document. And there we go. All right, this file contains a template and guides for you to build the color models. Be sure to choose Reset Essentials, which I've just done, but if you haven't, it's right over here in the corner. And you can click on this to get a down-facing arrow or options, and you would want to Reset Essentials. Then we are going to open the Layers panel if it's not already open. Here's my Layers panel. And then we're going to add a new layer and we're going to name it Red. So we are going to come down here at the very bottom of the Layers panel. I wonder if I can close out this library to make it so that you can see my layers a little bit easier. All right, and we're going to go to the bottom of the Layers panel. We're going to add a new layer, and we're going to call this one Red. And hit Tab. We're going to click on the foreground color swatch in the Tools panel. And here is the color picker. I only have to click it once in Photoshop. Thank God I don't have to go through the double click headache that I had to try to get color picker up in Illustrator. If any of you have both of my classes, you know I was having difficulty with that. But in Photoshop makes it much easier for us. And now that we've got the color picker open, we are going to, in the RGB fields here, we're going to enter 255 for red, hit Tab, 0 for green, hit Tab, and 0 for blue, and hit Tab. Red 255 is the truest red color you can create on the screen. We're going to click OK. And then we're going to select the rectangular marquee in the Tools panel. And you'll see this is the rectangular marquee tool, M. And we are going to, in the Options panel, make sure that the feather is set to 0. And then we're going to select the fixed size for the rectangular marquee tool's behavior. And we're going to type 386 pixels for both width and height. We are going to place our cursor in the upper left corner of the first rectangle of the template. Click once, and Photoshop will automatically create a square selection. You don't have to click and drag. So if you just click once, and you'll see that selection. Now we're going to press Option Alt and then tap the Delete key. Option if you are on a Mac, Alt if you're on a PC, and then tap the Delete key, and this should fill the selection with the foreground color red, which I've never been able to get this to work, but Option if you're on a Mac, Alt if you're on a PC, and hit the Delete key, and you see that it does not work for me. So if it does not work for you either, then what you'll do is you're going to go up to Edit and Fill. We're going to fill with foreground color and click OK. Alright, let's see, it says the layer is locked, so that was a big mistake of mine. That's probably why I couldn't feel it before. I had to make sure that the red layer was highlighted. Somehow I had accidentally bumped back down to my template layer. You want to make sure that the red layer is highlighted. And then let's try that Command or Alt Option and Delete again and see if that works. Hallelujah, it works. Okay, good. Alright, make sure that the red square is still selected, which it is, and you are going to go to Edit and Copy. Or Command C or Control C if you're on a Windows. And then you're going to paste the red square. And we're going to do a Command or Control V to paste the red square. And you'll see that it's pasted it on a new layer. We want to rename this layer as soon as I can get it deselected. And we're going to rename this Cyan. And hit Tab. You're going to use the Move tool to position the pasted layer in box 2. The pasted square, to box 2. So we're going to get the Move tool, we're going to click on this cyan, and then we're going to arrow it over. Or you can just click and drag with the Move tool. And with this cyan layer still selected, we're going to choose Image, Adjustments, and Invert. So we're going to go to Image, Adjustments, and Invert. And what happens is this creates the complement of the red color, which is cyan. Now we're going to create a third new layer by clicking on the New Layer icon at the bottom of the Layers panel. Sorry, I was at the bottom of the Path panel instead of the bottom of the Layers panel. I'm just going to click and drag. I'm going to go back up here to Layers, and here is the New Layer button. Click on that to create a new layer in the Layers panel. And we are going to call this green. Now we want to click on the foreground color box in the Tools panel. That opens the color picker, and then in the RGB model settings field we're going to enter 0 for red, hit Tab, 255 for green, hit Tab and 0 for blue. And then click OK. You'll see that green's now the foreground color. We're going to get this marquee selection tool in the Tools panel. We're going to click on the upper left corner of the square number 3. That creates another selection. And then making sure that that layer is still highlighted, we're going to press Alt if you're on a PC, Option if you're on a Mac, and hit Delete, and that should fill with green. And there we go. Now we're going to copy the green square so it's still selected. We're going to do Command or Control C, and we are going to do Command or Control V, and you'll see that creates a new layer. We're going to name this new layer as soon as I can get it selected, sorry. Magenta. And then we're going to use the Move tool to position it to the square number 4. The Move tool. We're going to choose Image, Adjustment, and Invert. And then this turns the green copy to the opposite color, which is magenta. We're going to again click the foreground color box in the Tools panel. It's going to open up the color picker one more time. This time in the RGB settings we're going to do 0 for red, 0 for green, and hit Tab, and then 255 for blue, and click OK. We're going to create a new layer. And we're going to call this new layer blue. We're going to create a blue square in the boxed area to the right of the magenta square. Make sure you're on that layer, which I wasn't. Copy and paste the blue square, Command C, Command V. We're going to name this duplicate layer yellow. We're going to get the Move tool. We're going to move it over to the position of this square. And if you can get a better position here by using your arrow keys, that's fine as well. Alright, so we've got the duplicate layer highlighted. We're going to go up under Image. I don't know which one, Edit I mean, I think. Which one, where did we find that? Geez, that was just 2 seconds ago. Image, Adjustments, that's where it is. And Invert. And that changes it to yellow. We're going to do a Command or Control S to save our file. Now we're going to create the gradient between these two complements, and I'm going to do this once, and then I will have you finish out the exercise on your own. Alright, so this time we're going to get the gradient tool, which is midway down the tool panel, or you can use the quick key G to select it. We're going to click inside the gradient sample, and we're going to click to get the color bar itself, not the down facing arrow at the right, in the options bar to open the gradient editor. Click right here. And you have to make sure that you click inside the gradient sample area, not on the down pointing arrow next to it, which is a little bit confusing because that's typically how you do access the options. But the down pointing arrow only gives you the currently saved gradients, not the full gradient window. So we're going to create a custom gradient using the red and cyan complements. This will blend the hues between the two, which will produce chromatic gray in the center, just like if you were mixing ink. If you mix complements, you'll get a great chromatic gray by mixing the two complements whether it's whether you're working with watercolor or whether you're working with acrylic or oil, and now with a computer as well. Alright, so we are going to reposition the gradient editor so we can see the red and cyan complements. So in the gradient editor, we're going to select the color stop at the bottom left corner of the gradient ramp. We'll highlight it in black, which it did. And then we're going to position the pointer over the red rectangle in your document. And note that the pointer changes into an eyedropper tool, which it does. We're going to click on the red to take a sample of the color. The sample is automatically placed into the selected color stop of the gradient ramp. And there it is. Now we're going to select the color stop at the right side of the gradient ramp. Take a sample of the cyan colored rectangle in the document. And you'll see that the gradient between the two is selected. I can't see how I can change this opacity, but I definitely need to do that. I'll be back in just a moment while I check this out. All right, you'll see that mine as compared to the textbook is significantly lighter, indicating to me that there's some kind of an opacity option applied to it, maybe from a gradient that I had made previously. So I'm going to choose this little stop above the red, and you'll see that the opacity pops up to 60%. So I am going to up that to 100%. Then I'm going to go over here and do the same thing on this end. And again, it just looks like another gradient stop, but it is on top of the gradient slider instead of underneath it. And then we're going to check and change that opacity to 100%, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. Now we're going to click New to save the new gradient. And there it is. And then we're going to click OK to close the gradient editor. All right, now we're going to apply the new gradient. So we're going to create a new layer and name it Gradient 1. We're going to select the rectangular marquee tool in the Tools panel. We're going to change the fixed size dimensions in the options bar to a width of 781 pixels. And we're going to leave the height set at 386. And then we're going to click the top left of the rectangle area below the red and cyan boxes. We're going to select the gradient tool in the Tools panel. We're going to verify that the linear gradient is selected in the options bar. And then we're going to click on the down-facing arrow next to the gradient arrow editor and select our new gradient, although mine's already selected, but in case yours isn't, this is how you would do it. Then we're going to hold down Shift and we're going to click and drag the tool from left to right in the selected area. So again, we have the gradient tool, hold down the Shift, and then we're going to click and drag from left to right. That holding down the Shift keeps it exactly horizontal. And there you go. And then you are going to go through with the rest of these, starting on number 16 in your textbook, create a new layer and name it Gradient 2. But again, if you have difficulty with the remainder of this, or if you need some assistance, make sure you let me know. Ask me and I'll be happy to do another demo for you. Thanks very much and see you later.